Good evening, members. Thank you very much for attending. Welcome to any members of the public who are here, and of course to those who have joined the meeting live on YouTube. I'm going to ask the town clerk to cover a few of the housekeeping details first, if I may.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, I know a lot of you are familiar with the building. We do have some guests with us tonight. If anybody needs to use the facilities, through this door, through the next door, and turn right. There are no fire alarm tests scheduled, so if the alarm should sound, please treat it as a real event. There is an emergency exit down the front door, down the front stairs and out the front door, and also down the rear stairs and out the rear door. The assembly point is on the forecourt in front of the building unless it's unsafe to do so, at which point the assembly point is in Harborside car park over the road. I'm not sure there's anything else from a housekeeping point of view I need to go for statement on. Will you be reading that?
Yes.
So it's just from there to there to there.
Okay. Right, thank you very much. I've just got a brief statement to you. I'd like to address councillors, officers and members of the public on current restrictions in place regarding the pre-election period, or PERDA as it was once known. This period covers the 6 weeks before an election and restricts what council may and may not do, and I urge you all to be mindful of this. As chair of this full council, part of my role is to ensure the requirements of the period are met, and I will be doing that tonight, and I ask you all to support me in that. In this period, the council, which includes this meeting, must ensure that its communications and resources are not used to attempt to influence the outcome of an election. As such, councillors, officers and the public should refrain from any statements or discussions tonight which could be seen as promoting a particular candidate or a political view, or publicising politically controversial or diverse matters. This meeting exists to make decisions on the matters presented on the agenda, and as such, please limit your discussions to these topics. Councillors are reminded that failure to adhere to the government's code of practice concerning these matters would be a breach of the code of conduct and would be reportable to the monitoring officer at Dorset Council. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation. Thank you. Can I just say before I sit down and start the meeting proper, I say this every time, and I know that a lot of you don't like doing it, but if you could stand when you speak, it does mean that those people who are watching online can identify who you are, because it is actually incredibly difficult to see where a voice is coming from when you're all sitting down. It does also make it easier for you to be heard when you stand. So if you are able to, it would be nice if you do. I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram if you don't do so, but I would like to. Thank you very much. First item is apologies for absence. So I think we do have some, don't we?
We do, yes, Madam Mayor. We have apologies from Councillor James this evening.
I think I also have something from Councillor Kanji. Yes, Councillor Kanji as well. Thank you.
And Councillor Barrow asked if I could have his.
Councillor Barrett. Right, thank you. Can I have a proposal to accept those apologies, please? Councillor Bell, seconder, Councillor Wakeling. Show of hands, please. Thank you. No against and no abstentions. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest?
We've had none pre-notified, Madam Mayor, and no dispensations have been sought for this meeting.
Thank you. Minutes of the last meeting, have you all had an opportunity to read those minutes? Are you all happy with those minutes? Could I have a proposal to accept, please? Councillor Hope, seconded by Councillor Gray. Show of hands, please.
Is 22 in favour?
Any against? Any abstentions?
One, which means that we have 2 unrecorded votes.
Right. Thank you very much. Councillor questions and statements, and have we had any pre-notification? No? Then, right, moving on. You'll be incredibly pleased. I forgot to pick up my printed sheet from my printer as it came out, so this is going to be ad lib and it will be even quicker than it would otherwise have been. The first thing is to hope that you all had lovely Christmas and New Year, that you saw all the people you loved and wanted to see, that you had time to have a bit of quiet time when you needed to as well. Among the things that I did over the Christmas holiday was, of course, the annual harbour swim, starting the swim on one side of the harbour and then dashing, not swimming, I hasten to say, dashing over to the other side to present the medals to those who had done the swim. And I'd like, as mayors do every year, to thank the Lions for all they do in organising this over very, very many years. It's a great event. There were a huge number of spectators, and I think there were between 380, 390 swimmers, is that right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Around about that, not quite 400, but very nearly 400, very, very hardy souls, who all enjoyed themselves enormously. Charlotte from the resort team had a wonderful time.
422.
422 was it in the end? Right, okay. I must have lost count at some point in this. Dear, oh dear. I just want very quickly to give you advance warning on 2 things that are coming up, and that's at the end of the month, on the 27th of January, which is actually a Saturday this year, so no excuse from working members. It's the Holocaust Memorial Day, and there'll be a very short service by the memorial tree in Radipole Park Gardens. The service is 10:30, it's generally finished by 11, and it would be lovely to see some of you there if you are able to come. So that's the 27th of January. And I bet some of you didn't know we had Holocaust Memorial Tree, so now you do. And we generally meet there once a year. The other thing is you've been asked to start thinking of names for the Mayor's Community Awards. Please give that some thought. Your residents will be getting in touch with you. If and when they do, ask them for a brief outline of why you think they should be given a community award and be recognised. Ask them for their full names, telephone number, and if at all possible, an email address, because it makes life very, very much easier for the Mayor's Secretary if there's an email address. And it can be organisations, it can be individuals. It's really nice to be able to formally thank, that couple at the end of your road who keep an eye on everybody in the road, pick up their shopping and their prescriptions, and generally do kind acts. Or the little girl down the road who always gets the newspaper for an old person further down the road. That sort of thing. Or it could be an organisation. So just have a little think about that. You've got till the 2nd of February to get that in, and we will do the award presentation before the next full council meeting. So it will be done within my term, rather than get muddled up at the end of our civic year. And finally, this is a bit like the harbour swim, actually, one wonders why they do it. I'm sure you all want to wish the very best of luck to our clerk, Jane, who is climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, in a few weeks' time. There must be a reason for it, but it escapes me. It sounds wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time. I wouldn't get your nails done before you go there if I were you. It's not quite appropriate. But do speak to Jane about that later, because I'm sure she'll love to tell you all about it, because she is doing this in support of the Lantern Trust, which we all like to support a great deal. So that's it in terms of mayor's announcements. The next thing is public questions. Do we have any public questions? No, thank you. No. Oh, that's with it. Okay.
Hello, Madam Mayor. I've been contacted by a member of the public whose request was going to come himself tonight, but he can't make it. And he's asked if I could read out his question, with your permission, Madam Mayor.
It's at your discretion, Madam Mayor, but any questions raised verbally are received without comment and will be
Yes,
responded to at a later date.
we will respond to that with a letter later. Generally, we do like members of the public to attend, but if you would like to on this occasion, that's fine.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Question from Mr. Alex Bailey, who's asking, a grant of £10,000 from locality was allocated for the external consultation of the Weymouth Town Council neighbourhood plan. I am interested in understanding the extent to which feedback from this plan will be analysed by individuals based locally. The concern arises due to the geographical distance of the London-based consultants from Weymouth, prompting questions about the effectiveness of their involvement in the analytic process. Thank you.
We'll get if you could leave that with the with Clark, we can get a response.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Right, we come on to item 8, which is the budget and precept. And I'm going to invite Ian Milne, our financial officer, to introduce this section.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will keep this introduction very brief, and for you, Madam Mayor, if I may, I'll then hand over to Councillor Gray as Chair of Finance and Governance and members of the budget working group, who will say a bit more. The budgets have been prepared following a series of meetings with the budget working group and budget holders, and these took place in November and December, and led to a budget being prepared, which was presented to the Finance and Governance meeting on the 20th of December, which was unanimously recommended to full council for approval. The principles that the working group were working to overall was to try and produce a budget which maintained a 0% increase in council tax, and by doing that, whilst doing that, trying to maintain the existing service levels that we currently have. The base budget has been adjusted, and we have incorporated a proposed pay award for next year of 5%, and the tax base has increased, which has helped us to absorb some of that increase to allow us to maintain that 0% increase in the council tax. Part of the process, which members may want to inform other members of us later, is it was recognised that although the budget is a good sound budget for next year, it's recognised that there will be some service areas which may need to be reviewed as part of the new council going forward following the May elections.
Thank you, Brad.
I will stand as you do. Yes, if it's not escaped the rest of you, this will be the last budget this council agrees. And for that, I've just got a couple of things to say. But before I do that, it's timely to go back to, I'm not one for looking back too much, but go back to 2019. Remind you that in 2019, we had no money in the bank, very little reserves, no plan. And to come 4.5 years forward into this very solid financial state. And this is our, if you like, our pass to the new council. So the new council will inherit a much better financial situation than we started off with. And in fact, the council tax in 2019 was £185.69. And the council tax we're proposing for the final year is £3.99 cheaper than it was 5 years ago. That's despite compound inflation of, depends on which formula you use, but between 21 and 24% over the 5 years. So we've absorbed all of that and maintained services. And I think all of the councils should be proud of that. The financial situation today, as we present this budget, is very stable. We've got money in reserves earmarked and not signed. We've got investments, and we've got, this budget has been agreed servicing all the requests from the 5 budget managers that came along to talk to us about their areas. So there was no request by officers turned down when agreeing this budget. And although I had an ambition in 2019 that we would gain £1 million in income generation, we're not quite there. We will teeter for all of the 4 years. We'll teeter just under that, but we're in good sound financials to push that forward. So that's the sort of looking back. Onto the budget. I'd like to say a few thank yous, as it's the last budget. And I'll probably embarrass 1 or 2 people. Jane and the SLT, particularly through the 4 years, I think, has steered us in a sound way, whilst trying to deliver an ever-changing service offer. I think has been fantastic. The F&G committee, which hasn't changed much in the 5 years. Most people around kept me on my toes, even Councillor Legg, who's been a challenge. And most of the committee has been together for the 5 years, and I'd like to thank them. The budget working group, which again has changed. We've had members come in and out, but some of the core people have been around. 2 people in particular in that budget working group, and bear in mind there's been 3 very long meetings. We've had other councillors join us, but there's been 3 very long meetings bashing around all of the budgets, overturning the rocks. But 2 people in particular I'd like to say thank you to. One is Richard, been around all of the 5 years. Thank you. And my conscience, Lucy. Thank you. The budget holders in particular, there was a bit of a change this year with the new structure, and there were budget responsibilities further down the structure, and that sort of brought a collegiate understanding of some of the rocks that we needed to sort of unearth, really. And I think going forward, that's a good, healthy position to be in. The new council faces some challenges, I think, and this will be the last year, I think, where we will face a 0% increase because some of the services do need looking at. And I think that will be a challenge for the new council. We are very stable, and for that reason, Madam Mayor, I'd like to propose at the appropriate time, item 1 and item 2 to full council.
Thanks very much. Councillor Nicholson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to express, I think, thanks of the budget working group to Councillor Gray for his leadership of that group. It's the amount of time he's spent and the detail that he's brought to that meeting has been a real bonus. I think it's enabled us to scrutinise that budget very thoroughly. I think the budget we're presenting to you is a good and fair budget. I think, from my point of view, I don't need to scrutinise it further because we have, as he said, three very long meetings on this, turned over every stone. I would reiterate what he says. I think going forward for the new council, there will be challenges. I think there will be areas which will need to be reviewed, as he says, because I think it will be difficult to probably keep it budget to a zero position. But that will be a challenge, a major challenge, I think, for the new council, which will need to be faced because we're facing quite difficult times. And I'm sure, having had experience of 5 years of the council, I'm sure we would agree that there are areas that can now be looked at in more detail, things that may need to change, things that may be done differently. But I would reiterate what you said, and I would also like to recommend that budget to this meeting of full council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other people wanting to speak? Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without wishing to make this a complete love-in, I do want to support Councillor Nicholson's comments and to pay a fulsome tribute to Councillor Gray's diligence in detail, in the contact with officers, in his partnership with the Deputy Town Clerk. I think everyone, I think we all had concerns right at the beginning. We had that challenge of building up the reserve, and Councillor Grace made that possible. It is extraordinary. I don't know of another council that's kept the zero rate. And that's not without risk, because prices only seem to be going up at the moment. And we do know that the people of Weymouth count on us to deliver local services. So it's not without risk. We've seen it before, where councillors, for all the right reasons, do their best to keep that increase as low as we can, but then you come to a cliff edge. And I just hope we're not setting up the next council for such a cliff edge. I hope they'll be inspired by Councillor Gray's example. I do want to also thank the officers who engaged with the budget working group, because it really was proactive, and those officers did serious hard work in finding where changes could be delivered and made. And it was just a privilege to take part of. So really, I'm just going to say thank you to Ian Mill and team, and thank you to Councillor Gray for delivering us 000. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wakefield.
It's all been said before.
Councillor Watts.
That's all right, Kate. Tis your name, Kate, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's all right. I forgot what I was going to say now. Put me off. Anyway, I would agree with everything Richard and Lucy have said. David's been excellent. But one of the main things for me on the group was the officers' attention to detail when they really said, oh yeah, okay, I need that, but I don't particularly need that. And the years before, they almost tried to double it without spending it. So I'd like to thank you, and it's been a pleasure to do it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Councillor Hodge.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to butter David, Councillor Gray up anymore. He doesn't need it. He's already welling up over that. Being on finance and governance now for 3 years as the chair of services, I've got to say, I'm very, very pleased with this budget. It means no service cuts to services delivered by Weymouth Town Council. And I listened to some of the comments made by Councillor Hamilton then around, are we setting the next council up to fail by continuing to leave to either reduce council tax or set it to zero value. But I think it's important to recognise the way that this town council works. Our officers are on the ball. They know their budgets. We've done excessive works on new coding systems. So we know where the money's being spent, how it's being spent, and where it doesn't need to be spent. The other thing this council's effectively done, and Councillor Gray alluded to this slightly, is looked at ways that we can draw in an income that isn't from the taxpayer. You know, we're being ambitious. We're looking for £1 million worth of income generation. And, you know, and as to the council, we may sometimes disagree on how we're generating that income, whether it's raising, running kiosks or debt share hire, or how we're doing it. But the fact is, we are doing it. We're raising nearly £1 million, saving our taxpayer to deliver the services that the town deserves. So I just want to really point on that for the fact is, you know, it's not because we're cutting services, and it's not because we're setting anyone else up to fail. We had a legal duty to put those reserves in the bank. We didn't have a choice. Nobody likes reserves, but they had to be there legally. But the key is, we've looked at income generation, we've looked at how we can generate money ourselves as a council to save the taxpayer, but we've also done some fantastic work in bringing in grants to the area. Look at the success of Bradford Park Gardens and Tumbledown. And the other key thing that will help this council going forward with its budget setting process is, of course, the neighbourhood plan, because it will mean that we generate more money in SIL to deliver improvements to community facilities that won't need to come from the taxpayer. So again, this council, to settle your mind there, Councillor Hamilton, is looking to the future, and we're definitely not setting the next council up to fail.
Right, I think we have a proposer, and I think, Richard, you were wanting to second that proposal. Yes, we need to take these two, we need to take these two items separately. So item 1, proposed by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Nicholson. Can I have a show of hands, please? That is unanimous, Madam Mayor. Thank you. And item 2, proposed by Councillor Gray. Sorry, Ken. We've got a proposer and a seconder, so I'll carry on if that's okay with you. So we have a proposer in Councillor Gray, seconder in Councillor Nicholson, and a show of hands again, please. Again, that is unanimous, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. We go on to item 9. Ian, if you'd like to come back in.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of this council will realise by now that there is some quirks in the way that towns and parishes make their decisions, and one of those is there's some things which we need to do on a yearly basis, which includes the appointment of our internal auditor. In recommending Light and Touch to continue as our internal auditor, we've had to consider their independence. We've needed to ensure that there is no conflict of interest between our internal auditor and ourselves, and we have to ensure that the internal auditor is qualified to undertake the audit work that we want them to do. And I can inform this council that we have ensured that all of those are in fact true. So we're just asking, Madam Mayor, if we could just agree that Light and Touch continue to be our internal auditors for the next year.
Very much. Can I have a proposer, Councillor Harris, seconder? Councillor Huckle, okay. Sorry, did you want to speak? Please do.
I would just simply like to ask a question, have others been considered? And if so, why, or if not, why not?
I'll ask Mr. Milne to answer that.
Thank you, Councillor Renee. We have considered the existing internal auditor a couple of years ago, and it is good practice that we will continue consider alternatives to ensure that we still receive best value at a certain time. So in the next year or so, we would probably go out and just ask other people to quote for the internal audit work, go through the safe diligence checks as we go through all the yearly basis to ensure that the current general audit is appropriate. So we will do that as a future. We don't just stick with one of the strategic goals.
Do we have any other questions? Sorry, do we have any other questions? No, in that case, I think we have a proposal, councillor Harris, and the second of councillor Buckle. Could I have a show of hands, please?
That is unanimous, then.
Thank you very much. Item 10, I think Ben did you, isn't it?
Thank you. So this is a paper with the purpose of members asked to consider the seal application in respect of Tumbledown, which was Appendix D in the papers. And it's an application looking for £20,000 of seal money towards the Building A building at Tumbledown. The paper was taken on the 20th of December to the Finance and Governance Committee, who supported the paper to come forward to full council. There was a second paper that preceded that, the Finance and Governance Committee, which was a report taken to look at the delivery focus for Tumbledown, and it showed how Building A is a really important additional element to enable it to continue to develop and focus on social value outcomes for the community that are using Tumbledown. And again, the Finance and Governance Committee unanimously supported that paper as well. The Building A is a really important additional facility because it will allow Tumbledown to have permanent toilets, which might not sound a lot, but actually for some of the groups with additional needs that are attending, some groups haven't been able to actually attend so far because that isn't in place. It also will have a multi-purpose classroom / meeting space, which will allow to expand on inside work, especially when this time of the year the weather's poor, and some groups, again, with additional needs, it wouldn't be appropriate for them to be outside, but we can actually add to our delivery models and use that indoor space. And the other end of the building will actually have a small teaching kitchen, which again adds to the produce that's being grown, both in terms of creating other products from it to help with income, but also in terms of how to use that and how that can support lots of different groups within the community, again, through that social value output. The £20,000, as Councillor Hope alluded to, is one of the grants. It will help us achieve one of the grants, or two grants, that total over £100,000 to allow Building A to be built. The nuclear restoration services will provide a grant of £85,000, and Dorset Council will provide a grant of £15,000. So that £100,000 will enable us to achieve Building A. But the £20,000 is needed to meet the full building costs, and that's a stipulation for us to be able to download those two grants and actually go forward with the building. So without this seal amount being put in place, we won't be able to download or draw down those £100,000 grants. So the recommendation is to put it to full council to approve the £20,000 seal application to enable Building A to take place during 2024. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Ben on this? So stun them into silence. Could I have a proposer? I know it's been recommended by F&G. Are you proposing or are you? Yes. This proposer from Councillor Orrell, seconded by Councillor Lambert, is that right? Thank you. Could I have a show of hands, please?
Being counted, no problem. That's unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you all very much. Next item 11, is use of council standing orders. Shani, can I ask you to present this? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
At finance, these have previously been discussed at the Finance and Governance Committee. This evening, we're asking for full council to adopt the new council standing orders. As I'm sure many of you, most of you should be aware, the new council meets regularly, one for the third Friday each evening here in the chamber. We've got a really good, core group of about 12, 15 young people that do attend those meetings now. The standing orders will give young people rules and procedures to follow at their meetings. I haven't put these together. These are the standing orders that the young people have put together with the guidance from myself, Alex, Councillor Hope and Councillor Harris as well. For adopting standing orders, it will ensure that the youth council meetings run smoothly and there are certain controls and procedures in place that will just keep the young people more structure. The youth council has been fantastic. We've been in place now for just over a year. It was only just this past weekend that we had members of our Weymouth Town Council and Youth Council standing for Youth Parliament at Dorset and also nationally. That's because they've been inspired and empowered through the Youth Council that we've put in place. So this evening, I'm asking that full council adopt on the council standing orders at the appendix within the agenda.
Thank you very much. Yes, I mean, they are already starting to implement some of their suggestions, the adoption of the phone box in the town, and so on. So, and I've met them a few times now, and they're a terrific bunch of young people, getting their name known around the town, and a great example to the rest of our young people and to us. So I'm looking for a proposer for this. Councillor Fairman, seconder. Councillor Tewkesbury. May I have a show of hands, please? That is unanimous, Madam. Thank you very much.
We all want to be back fire, we can have it.
Next items are information items. I think Councillor Northam wants to say a few words on this. Can I invite you now to do so, Councillor Northam?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The words are in the council agenda. What I'd like to do is just add a little bit to those words. We had a neighbourhood plan steering group yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, sorry, Monday. And that group really supported the words that have gone in here and wanted to add a little bit. So just at the top, you can see that the Reg 14 consultation did complete. We extended it a week, it completed on the 15th of December. There were 304 responses from a range of sources, including organisations, businesses and individuals. There are a few statutory responses that we didn't come forward that we're chasing. So Natural England didn't respond and we're chasing them. They're not obliged to respond, but it's a bit inconvenient when they leave it to the last minute. So we're chasing them. We've extended the services of our consultant until 31st of March 2024 in order that he can assist in some of the analysis of the feedback from the consultees. And doing that includes finalising the summary of the consultation responses, formulating a list of recommended changes, offering guidance on potential adjustments to the neighbourhood plan. And this is being funded partly by a further grant from locality, which is also covering the activities that still remain to be done, some specialist technical support, and not consultancy. And that's supporting the steering group in formulating the response to those comments that have been made by members of the public and the statutory consultees. And the intention, that steering group will be meeting on a monthly basis. And in fact, we recognise that we probably need to have intermediate meetings to get through the amount of work that is needed to be processed So these 304 responses, Dorset Council alone sent back 60 pages of comment. This is quite tough and tedious. There's a lot that can be dealt with quite quickly. There are some really easy positive suggestions. There's quite a lot of objection in particular areas, which needs to have a considered response. So we will be feeding back at the next full council meeting and the following full council meeting, how that process is going. So that's what we're doing. We're pressing forward with this. And one thing that concerned us, and it's this chunk in here, we had planned to go back to Dorset Council at the end of March with the submission plan. And that had been talked about for over a year. But back in October, we were told by Dorset Council that because May elections are taking place in May the 2nd, which is hardly a surprise, that the PERDA period means that they will not be pushing forward with the Regulation 16, which they manage. At the request of the steering group, I wrote to Jonathan Mayer, who's the Democratic officer. I wrote on the 29th of November. I still await a response or even an acknowledgement. I sent him a chaser on January the 1st because I wanted to make sure it was in his in tray on the 2nd of January when I presume he went back to work. I was supposed to send a chaser for the steering group asked me to write to Matt Proctor because if he's not responding, who do you go to next? I haven't done that yet today because it's been a bit busy, but I intend to do so. So we wait a response.
Can you start to wind?
Wind down, nice bit, yes. What I'd like to end up with then is a real thanks to some of the people who have responded. They haven't responded in a glib or simplistic way. Many people have gone through the 200 pages and have responded in detail. And we now have to assess that response and take that into account moving forward. So that's a really commendable, the depth with which some people have gone and the suggestions in some instances which have been made. So thank you to the public for responding. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Milton. And I think that we all appreciate how much work you and the steering group have done, despite many frustrations. Thank you. Do we have anything else on information items that need to be? Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you. It's a question on the Radical Park and Gardens update. At the last Finance and Governance meeting, we had an item regarding the tender process for the cafe. And my understanding of it was at the time that certain people had tendered or had shown an expression of interest, but had failed to complete a tender form for it. I believe officers went back to those people and asked reasons why. The answer seemed to be that the tender process was too long and complicated and therefore they didn't wish to tender. F&G committee agreed that we would agree a tender light process. In other words, we would ask these people to tender on a different format, something less complicated. Can I have an update, please, on where we are with that tender light process and where we are with the overall tendering process? I did raise at that meeting the question of what would happen, what was the fallback position for the council if nobody wished to tender for it. And I'm not sure where we are with that, but if I could, please, if we could have an update on what the tendering process is, where we are with it, and what is the likelihood of anybody tendering successfully for this? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholson. As I'm sure you can appreciate, the last Finance and Governance meeting was the 20th of December. Due to the Christmas break, officers have only been in the office for the last week, so progress has been made, but not a huge amount. At the last Finance and Governance meeting on the 20th of December, it was agreed to engage with not necessarily businesses, but community groups, the voluntary sector groups. Ben, who was here earlier this evening, he has begun that process and he's in the process of setting meetings up with those two voluntary groups and making the process simpler.
Thank you very much for that. Is everybody happy then with the information items as they're printed? Thank you. Weymouth Town Council forward plan. Seen that, happy with that, so that's okay. Yes, everybody with their hands up. So, yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I can see that, we've got a forward plan for February 2024 on the council's response about violence against women and girls. That's going to full council in February, I believe.
UK says no more.
Yeah, UK says no more. Perfect. Because it leads into, an action day early in March. So as long as we have long enough to put that into action, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much. No other points? In which case, I'm going to declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much. It's